Stop thinking Tencent is just a gaming company. Most people look at this friendly penguin mascot and see a Chinese version of Facebook. They are dead wrong. This is a $400 billion shadow empire that tracks every breath of 1.4 billion people and owns a piece of your favorite apps without you ever knowing. They are the invisible octopus, and today, we're exposing the 0.1% secrets they use to conquer the world, and the terrifying reason why the Chinese government just turned on them. You see, while the world watches Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, Pony Ma has been building a digital cage that is essentially impossible to live without. If you're in China and you don't have Tencent's Everything app, you can't buy groceries, you can't call a taxi, and you can't even pay your taxes. But this isn't just a China story. Whether you're on Reddit, Spotify, or playing Fortnite, you are feeding the octopus. Today, we are deconstructing the most fascinating and dangerous business empire on the planet. We're going inside the shark womb culture that forces employees to cannibalize each other's ideas just to survive. We're revealing the copy and crush playbook that allowed Tencent to humiliate Microsoft and seize the global gaming market. But most importantly, we're opening the information gap on their relationship with the CCP. You'll see how a simple chat app became the world's most sophisticated surveillance tool, where a single text message can lead to a police interrogation in under 10 minutes. By the end of this video, you will understand how one man used total plagiarism to build total power. This is the breakdown of Tencent. To understand Tencent's power, you have to look at WeChat. In the West, we have app fatigue. We switch between WhatsApp for text, Instagram for photos, Uber for rides, and Apple Pay for checking. In China, that doesn't exist. There is only WeChat. Imagine waking up and using one app to check your work emails, order your breakfast, pay for the subway, and book a doctor's appointment. This is what's called a super app. It is the operating system of Chinese life. The average user spends over 4 hours a day inside this one app. That's more than the average American spends on all social media combined. But here is the so what factor. Because Tencent owns the entire ecosystem, they own the data. Not just your likes or your interests, but your real-time location, your entire medical history, every penny you've ever spent, and every private message you've ever sent. And here's the kicker. Tencent scored a 0 out of 100 for data privacy. They don't even pretend to protect you. In their world, privacy isn't a right. It's a liability. The story of the 0.1% usually starts with a visionary idea. But Pony Ma's story starts with a theft. In 1998, Pony Ma was a quiet, introverted coder who realized he didn't need to be original. He just needed to be fast. He saw an Israeli chat tool called OICQ. He didn't just get inspired by it, he ripped it off entirely and called it OICQ. But here was the challenge that almost ended Tencent before it began. In 1999, the company was broke. They had only $1,000 in the bank. The servers were failing because too many people were joining, and every new user was costing them money they didn't have. Pony was so desperate he tried to sell the company for $60,000. He went to every major tech firm in China. They all laughed at him. Why would we buy a chat app that makes no money? They asked. This was Pony's first major roadblock. He was facing a massive lawsuit from AOL, who owned ICQ and total bankruptcy. But instead of quitting, he pioneered a psychological edge that changed the internet forever: digital status. He realized people would pay real money for virtual items if it made them look better than their friends. He launched the QQ avatar system. For a few cents, you could buy a digital jacket or a cool background for your profile. It sounded like a joke to Western investors, but to millions of young Chinese users, it was everything. Within months, Tencent wasn't just surviving. It was a money printing machine. We're halfway through the octopus's reach. If you want to master the strategies of the 0.1% and see how these empires are truly built, hit that subscribe button to Billionaire Breakdown. It takes 2 seconds, and it keeps you ahead of the game. Now, back to the war. How does a copycat company defeat a giant like Microsoft? through a ruthless internal structure Pony Ma calls the shark wound. In most companies, if you have a new idea, you pitch it to your boss. At Tencent, Pony Ma would take that idea and give it to 3 different teams at the same time. He would force them to compete against each other. They were working 9 to 9 to 6, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week. It was a race to the death. The team that launched first and got the most users won the budget. The other 2 teams were often scrapped or fired. This internal cannibalism ensured that only the most predatory products survived. When Microsoft brought MSN Messenger to China, they thought they would win because they were Microsoft, but they were slow. Every decision had to be approved by a manager in Seattle. Meanwhile, Tencent's teams were iterating every single day. When users complained about slow file transfers, Tencent fixed it in 48 hours. Microsoft took 6 months. Tencent didn't win by being better, they won by being more ruthless and faster. By 2005, Microsoft was forced to retreat, leaving Tencent as the undisputed king of Chinese attention. Once Pony Ma controlled the attention of China, he realized he could use that cash cow to buy the world. Tencent entered what we call the kingmaker phase. They looked at the gaming industry and realized it was bigger than movies and music combined. But instead of trying to build their own games from scratch, they used the identify and absorb strategy. They would find a Western studio with a hit game, like Riot Games and League of Legends, and they would buy it, 100% ownership. Then they went to Epic Games, the creators of Fortnite, and bought 40%. They bought stakes in Ubisoft, Activision Blizzard, and Marvelous. Today, Tencent is the largest gaming company in the world. But here is the secret. They don't care about the art of the game. They care about the microtransaction loop. They took the digital status lesson from the 90s and applied it to global gaming. They turned every game into a marketplace. If you've ever bought a skin or a battle pass, you've likely sent money directly to Pony Ma's vault. They are the invisible hand behind your screen. The climax of the Tencent story isn't a business failure, it's a political taming. By 2020, Tencent was approaching a $1 trillion valuation. They had more data than the government. They were becoming too powerful to control. The Chinese Communist Party realized that the invisible octopus had its tentacles in everything, including the psyche of the youth. Suddenly, the government struck. They called video games spiritual opium. They banned kids from playing for more than 3 hours a week. They forced Tencent to install facial recognition into their games to track children's eyes. But the real blow came for Pony Ma himself. He saw what happened to Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, who disappeared from public life after criticizing the government. Pony, being the pragmatic shark he is, went into hiding. He stayed silent. He donated $15 billion of Tencent's profit to the state's Common Prosperity Fund. It was protection money. The summary: Tencent is a masterclass in the 0.1% edge. They proved that you don't need to be the first to have an idea. You just need to be the best at copying and the most ruthless at executing. They built a digital empire that owns the attention of the world, but they also learned the ultimate lesson of power. No matter how big your company is, there is always a bigger predator. Tencent owns your games, but BlackRock owns your house. To see the breakdown of the $10 trillion firm that controls the entire US economy, click the video on your screen right now and subscribe to join the 0.1%.